Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something literally off the charts. It's a highly ambitious, incredibly layered project proposed by a company called Sky Gold Inc. Now, if you've been following global agriculture or decentralized finance, you know that blending the physical dirt of farming with the digital ether of the blockchain is basically the holy grail right now. But what we're looking at today goes way beyond just plugging an app into a tractor. We're diving straight into source documents that outline a master plan attempting to mash up traditional Eastern philosophy, heavy-duty agricultural tech, and global capital markets into one massive ecosystem. Whether this becomes the ultimate blueprint for the future or just a wild cautionary tale, it represents the absolute wild frontier of modern investment, and honestly, we absolutely have to talk about it.
To really wrap our heads around this, we need to immediately ground ourselves in the sheer physical scale of what's actually being proposed. We are not talking about some tiny startup incubator or a conceptual pilot program here. Sky Gold Inc. is talking about implementing this model across more than 5,000 hectares of land. Specifically, this is situated right in the heart of the Tan Quang Tea region in Thanh Nguyen, Vietnam. And it's not just land. This project is deeply intertwined with a community of over 25,000 people. That is a massive footprint, both geographically and humanly speaking, which makes understanding their exact blueprint super important.
Okay, let's dive right in and break this down exactly how they do in the documents. First up, we'll look at the Sky Gold vision. Second, tech, soil, and farming. Third, the global financial roadmap. And finally, a digital token ecosystem.
Section 1. The Sky Gold Vision, the Tam Tai Blueprint.
So to understand this pretty complex business model, we first have to look at the philosophy behind it, mostly because it dictates literally every single operational phase that follows. According to their source texts, everything Sky Gold does is rigidly organized around the concept of Tam Tai. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, Tam Tai is a traditional Eastern philosophical framework. It translates roughly to the three powers, or three realms. Those are heaven, which is Tin, earth, which is Dia, and human, which is Nen. And what's absolutely fascinating here is that they don't just use this as some loose, feel-good metaphor. The entire business plan is hard-coded into these three specific domains. Heaven represents their physical farming operations. Earth represents their financial roadmap. And human? That's their digital and community ecosystem.
You might be wondering, what's the actual end goal of baking all this philosophy into a business? Well, the source text explicitly states they're deploying a socialist, regenerative economic model. The immediate, boots-on-the-ground objective is to completely ditch farming that relies on synthetic chemicals. But, and this is key, this isn't just an environmental play. It's about massive economic growth. By combining biological and technological solutions, the text claims this model can multiply economic value by 1, 5, or even up to 25 times. I mean, a 25x value jump? That is a staggering claim of value creation, swapping out chemical dependency for a highly engineered regenerative loop.
Moving on to Section 2, Tech, Soil, and Farming, the groundwork.
Let's look literally into the dirt to see how this works in reality. And surprise, surprise, they break their physical farming operations into heaven, earth, and human once again. First up, the heaven aspect of the farm relies on something called the Kenai Smokeless Furnace. The goal here is to process agricultural waste, totally slash emissions, and actually generate carbon credits. Second, the earth aspect uses something branded as Biochar Black Diamond. This is specifically aimed at rehabilitating the soil, locking in water and nutrients to basically rebuild the farming ecosystem from the ground up. And third, the human aspect focuses on biology, specifically utilizing biohumus solutions named M-Terra, Metaskyterra, and U-Terra. This whole triad is laser-focused on upgrading the physical reality of those 5,000 hectares of tea fields.
All right, Section 3. The Global Financial Roadmap, Mapping the Capital.
Now, what's really interesting here is how aggressively they pivot from farming soil in Vietnam straight into international capital markets. They outline a 3-step escalation for the Earth pillar of their overarching master plan. Step 1, their financial heaven, if you will, starts locally with an IPO, an initial public offering, on the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange, or HOSE. Then Step 2, their financial Earth, crosses borders into Singapore for an SDO, a security token offering. This is where they bridge traditional equity with blockchain-based security tokens. And finally, Step 3, their financial human, is the heavy hitter, an IPO on the NASDAQ in the US. So we're looking at a geographic and financial escalation that is literally trying to march a local agricultural project right onto the world's most tech-heavy stock exchange.
But before we draw a straight line from a tea farm to Wall Street, the source material throws in a very vital caveat. It strongly emphasizes that this entire financial roadmap, especially that Singapore STO and the NASDAQ IPO, is entirely, quote, subject to legal regulations and listing conditions. As we're impartially breaking down this blueprint, it's clear the authors know that scaling globally means navigating a labyrinth of incredibly complex cross-border regulations. It's a massive hurdle, and to their credit, they've officially flagged it right there in the text. And finally, Section 4, a digital token ecosystem, the metaverse, and apps. So how exactly does one single company manage physical smokeless furnaces, international stock listings, and 25,000 farmers all at the exact same time? Well, fulfilling the human pillar of their master plan, the answer is a highly complex digital backbone. Skygold plans to run this whole shebang through something called the Smart Super App Skygold. But wait, it doesn't stop at an app. The text introduces this remarkably dense cryptocurrency and NFT ecosystem, and sitting at the very top of this digital hierarchy is an asset they literally designate as the M-Leader Token/NFT God. I know, it's a super bold naming convention for corporate asset management, but that's exactly what's written. Right beneath that top God tier, the ecosystem fractures into what I can only describe as a digital alphabet soup, officially called the MB Tag model. The text breaks down this token and NFT framework into 5 distinct digital assets. We've got the SGM, the SGB, the SGT, the SGA, and the SGF. Now, while the source material doesn't spell out the granular, nitty-gritty utility of every single letter here, it clearly establishes this structured, multi-tier digital asset framework. The whole point is to tokenize and track the value generated by those 5,000 hectares of tea and the carbon credits from their furnaces. It's basically an entire virtual economy layered directly on top of the physical dirt.
To wrap up the structured breakdown of this document, we really have to look at the sign-off. The text ends with a pretty dramatic, unified declaration, joining hands for the Great Mother Earth. But honestly, more importantly for anyone trying to gauge the project's institutional weight, it highlights some incredibly heavy backing. The document claims support from the MPPAQ Institute, and it explicitly lists 31 professors and PhDs, alongside specifically named figures like Dr. Do Hu Chien and Professor Dr. Wenbon Tai. They are clearly leaning very heavily on academic and institutional credentials to validate this sweeping, multi-layered vision.
All of which leaves us stepping back and asking the ultimate question. Can this intricate blend of ancient Tomtai philosophy, traditional tea agriculture, and cutting-edge blockchain tokenomics truly reshape the future of farming? It's a model of sheer contrast, isn't it? You have physical carbon-burning furnaces operating right alongside digital NFT God tokens, all while aiming for a NASDAQ IPO. Whether this socialist regenerative economic model can actually leap over the massive regulatory and logistical hurdles in its path remains to be seen, but it is undeniably one of the most uniquely structured blueprints in the agricultural space today. Thanks for exploring this with us, and keep questioning how the future is built.